I was sitting at my desk, just like I had for the past 20 years. Same view, same office, stacks of contracts, a creaky window, and the soft hum of the radio at 3 p.m. It was all familiar, maybe too familiar. So much so, it sometimes felt suffocating. Around 4 p.m., the phone rang. "Hi, is this the real estate office? I wanted to check out a vacant store unit." The voice was low and clear. Calm, but strong. There was a subtle sense of caution in it, too. "Yes, of course. Are you nearby? I can show it to you now. I'm just around the corner. I'll be there soon." That was how we first met. He walked in wearing a black shirt and a windbreaker. His shoulders were broad, and his eyes. They weren't intimidating, but I couldn't look away either. "I'm the one who called earlier. I heard this place was up for rent." I set down my pen and stood up. "Yes, it's right next door. Used to be a cafe, but it's been empty for about a year." He quietly followed me out the door. I could feel his gaze briefly glance around my office. We stepped inside the vacant unit. Bare concrete floors, tiled walls, and nothing else. Sunlight was pouring in through the glass windows. "This is the layout. Water and electricity are all hooked up. Just needs a bit of renovation and you could open right away." He stood silently for a while, then said softly, "It's quiet here." "It is. The neighborhood's settled. People stay a long time here." He looked at me and said, "You seem like someone who's been here a long time too." His words made something in my chest feel cold and exposed. It was probably just an observant comment. But somehow, it felt like he saw right through me. I forced a smile and asked, "What kind of business are you thinking of?" "Since it used to be a cafe. The layout's pretty convenient. A cafe. Something quiet. Somewhere people don't come rushing in. Then this is perfect." He smiled faintly. "I'll take it. I like the place. You'd like to sign the contract?" "Yes. I'll come back tomorrow with the paperwork." "Thank you, ma'am." As he walked away, his back looked heavy. The kind of heaviness you carry when you've been holding something for a long time. That evening, I printed the contract and sat quietly, thinking, what an odd man. So quiet, yet unforgettable. I had no idea that quiet man would soon walk into the deepest parts of my life. A few days after he started renovating the place, I found myself watching him through the office window every morning. He worked alone, tearing things down, carrying wood, even hooking up electric lines by himself. Some days, he'd be covered in dust from head to toe. But somehow, standing in the sunlight with a coffee in hand, he still looked calm, put together. We didn't talk much, just the occasional hello when we crossed paths. And yet, on days he was there, I felt at ease. When he wasn't, something felt missing. That day, the sky was gloomy from morning. By the afternoon, thick raindrops were falling. I had stepped out without an umbrella, grabbed a quick kimbap from the convenience store, and now stood at the corner hesitant to walk back in the rain. Then I heard a voice I'd already grown used to. "No umbrella?" I turned. He stood there with a black umbrella, collar turned up against the wind. "Let's go together. You'll catch a cold." I nodded, whether it was because I had no choice, or because I wanted to. We walked side by side beneath the umbrella. It wasn't large, and he kept tilting it toward me. His shoulder was slowly getting soaked. I glanced a few times and finally said, "You're getting wet. I can hold it too." He smiled faintly. "I don't mind the rain. But I'd hate for you to get sick." His words made me laugh softly, unexpectedly. He was strange. Not rude, but unafraid to step close. Quiet, but kind in the subtlest ways. When we reached my office, I asked, "So do you really like this neighborhood?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah, it's peaceful and there are good people here." That last part made my heart skip. Good people. Did he mean me? I said nothing, just walked inside. But the rest of that day, I couldn't stop thinking about his words. Good people. That night, I drew words with my finger on the office window. No one was watching. It was just me, tracing. Spring rain, an umbrella, a warm shoulder. That was the day. The space between us got just a little smaller. March 26th, my birthday. Not that anyone remembered. My ex-husband had disappeared from my life long ago. And my son, currently in the army, hadn't called in weeks. The locals didn't know, and even if they did, I never told them. It was easier not to expect anything. No expectations meant no disappointments. So, just like any other day, I quietly ordered lunch, ate alone, and went back to sorting paperwork. The afternoon sun was gentle. The office was silent, and then my eyes caught something written in red ink. On the corner of my desk calendar, M.I. Young's birthday. It was my handwriting from the year before. I chuckled to myself. Guess some part of me wanted to remember even if no one else would. Just then, I heard a quiet thump outside the door. I opened it, and there, sitting on the step, was a small cake box. No ribbon, no note, just the box. But somehow I knew. It was from him, Young Woo. Inside was a simple strawberry cream cake, one tiny candle, and a yellow sticky note, written in blocky handwriting. It might not be today, but if it is, I hope your birthday is filled with smiles. Young Woo. I stood there for a long while, just staring at the cake. I didn't feel my heart racing. I didn't cry. It was just warm, the kind of warmth I hadn't felt in a very, very long time. That evening, I walked to his cafe. It was still unfinished, tools scattered, walls half-painted. He looked up and smiled when he saw me. "Thank you for the cake," I said quietly. He shrugged, casual. "So I was right? I saw your birth date on the lease contract." It stuck with me. I laughed, a little embarrassed. "You remembered that?" "I don't know why, I just did." His words felt more intimate than any bouquet. More sincere than any card. We didn't talk much that evening. We just sat, sharing small slices of cake under the dim light, surrounded by the smell of paint and sawdust. And somehow, it still felt perfect. That night, back home, I lit the tiny candle alone, closed my eyes. I thought hard about what wish to make, then whispered, "I hope he stays by my side for a long time." It was the first selfish wish I'd made in years. It was one of those oddly lonely days. No clients, no calls. My son hadn't messaged in days. The weather was too warm for how empty I felt. I opened the fridge and took out a mini bottle of wine. No wine glasses, just a paper cup. I poured a bit and took a sip. The radio felt too loud, so I turned it off. Then the silence felt even louder. That's when I got a text. "Young Woo, are you still at the office? I saw your light on." I stared at the message for a few seconds, then walked over and opened the door. He was standing there, holding 2 cans of beer and a pack of dried snacks. Drinking alone's tough on the stomach. "Mind if I join you?" I simply nodded. We sat across from each other at my office desk. Not much talking, just slow sips. The occasional crunch of snacks. Then he asked, "Do you drink alone often?" "Not often, almost always. I've gotten used to being alone. It's just easier this way." He looked at me, his eyes soft, almost sad. "I'm still not good at drinking alone. It makes me think of people. Makes me want to talk." A pause. Then he asked quietly, "Your son, does he call often?" I gave a faint smile. "He's in the army. These days, not really. I think he's become more grown up than me. Honestly, that stings sometimes." He lifted his can and gently said, "Then maybe tonight, I can take his place. If you'll let me stay with you." I clinked my can against his. Later, as we finished the drinks, I grabbed my bag and stood up. "It's getting late. Time to head home." He stood with me and walked me to my door. The night air was soft, the street quiet. and his shadow stretched long under the street lamp. Just as he was about to turn back, I said like it was nothing, but meaning everything. "Would you like some ramen?" He froze for a second, then slowly turned to look at me. "Are you serious?" I nodded, and just for a second, his eyes trembled more than mine. Inside, I quietly made ramen. The kitchen made soft clinking sounds. He sat in the living room, hands on his knees, awkward, careful. There was tension, but also something warm. When I placed the bowl on the table and sat across from him, I asked softly, "Why are you being so careful?" He gently set down his spoon. "Because this moment it's so good. I'm scared to ruin it." I reached across the table and held out my hand. "Then let me go first." That night, we didn't talk much. We just listened, to each other's breath, to the quiet, to the newness. His hand was warm, his arms unfamiliar, but not strange. For the first time in so long, I felt like a woman again. The next morning, sunlight peeked through the curtains. I woke up in a warmth that wasn't mine alone. He was still there, lying beside me, watching me quietly. "You're awake?" he asked softly. I smiled back. "Yeah, did you sleep well?" He nodded. For the first time in a long while, I really did. There were so many things in his eyes. Gratitude, relief, and a little bit of fear. I got up and turned on the coffee pot. He joined me in silence, taking out 2 cups from the cupboard. We didn't need words. We just sat and drank our coffee side by side, like we'd always done it. From that day on, our mornings changed. He'd wait outside my office every day, just in time for me to open up. "Let's go together," he'd say. It became our morning greeting. We stopped by the little bakery around the corner, bought 2 croissants and shared them while walking to work. Lunchtime, we'd pretend to be busy, but we always ended up eating together. On weekends, we shopped for groceries, picked vegetables side by side at the market, stood too long debating over frozen dumplings at the store. And at checkout, he'd always say, "I'll get this one," with a sheepish grin. His cafe slowly began to settle in. It was small, peaceful, but regulars started trickling in. I sometimes brought my laptop over and worked from there, drinking the coffee he made just for me. One day, he added a special item to the cafe menu. "Mi young special, a vanilla latte, just sweet enough." Customers would ask, "What's this one?" He'd laugh and say, "Oh, that one? It's for someone special. Only she gets it." My face flushed, but I smiled as he handed me the cup. "You smile a lot these days," he said. I answered, "You give me reasons to." People started whispering around the neighborhood. "Are they together? She looks brighter these days. Something's going on, for sure." At first, I was embarrassed. But then I started to like it. It meant someone was watching my story unfold. At night, he always walked me home, even if nothing special happened that day. Before turning to leave, he'd say, "I'm glad we were together today." And every time, as I watched him walk away, I'd whisper behind the closing door, "Me too. It was better because of you." We never said the word love, but we were building it. Day by day, quietly and deeply. It happened suddenly. My son showed up at my office completely unannounced. He was in uniform, his skin still tan from training. "Mom, surprised?" He grinned. "Totally. Why didn't you call?" I said, rushing to hug him. He felt taller, stronger. "When did my little boy grow big enough to wrap his arms around me like this?" "There was a military event nearby," he explained. "I don't have long, he'll be heading back soon." I grabbed my coat. "Then let's get lunch. You're not leaving without at least a meal." We went to a nearby diner, just simple tteokbokki and kimbap. Watching him eat, sauce smeared on his lip, I smiled like only a mother could. After lunch, our feet took us naturally to Yung Woo's cafe. "Is this the place you go to all the time? You had their coffee earlier, right?" my son asked. Yeah, I said. It's quiet. I like it. We stepped inside, and Young-woo lit up the moment he saw us. Welcome, a special guest today. This is my son, I said proudly. He's on a short leave. Young-woo reached out his hand. Nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you. My son shook it silently. His expression neutral, his eyes unreadable. We sat by the window, the three of us. Young-woo brewed a hand-drip coffee and placed a piece of chocolate on the tray. Sweet things for soldiers, it's essential, he said with a smile. I chuckled, but my son just took a sip quietly. It was a short visit. Not many words exchanged. He was polite, but distant. On the way home, I asked softly, "So what do you think of him?" There was a long pause. Then he finally said, "Mom, that man, do you know what he did before? I mean, before he opened this cafe?" I froze. He runs a coffee shop. That's what he does. That's not what I mean, he said, his tone sharper now. Before he got close to you. Where did he live? What kind of life did he have? Do you even know? I didn't answer. I never asked. He never offered. We'd only ever talked about now. You seem happy, Mom. I can see it. But if you want that happiness to last, you need to really know who you're letting into your life. His words were gentle, but they left a cold crack in my heart. That night, I said nothing to Young-woo. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. For the first time, I wondered about the past he'd never spoken of. They say you should trust someone's eyes more than their history. But sometimes, the past doesn't knock, it breaks the door down. After my son's visit, I started to see Young-woo differently, just a little at first. But once you start to wonder, the questions don't stop. The owner of the local market asked me casually one afternoon, "Hey, that guy next door. Do you know what he used to do before opening the cafe?" I hesitated, then just smiled. He said he moved here to run a quiet place. Why? No reason, she replied. Just his customers have this strange vibe. And something about him feels familiar. At first, I brushed it off. But the seed of doubt had already been planted. I started to notice things. Every night, before he closed the cafe, Young-woo would make a quiet phone call. His voice was low, cautious. Not yet, I'm staying quiet here for now. Whenever I overheard it, a chill ran down my spine. Something inside me whispered, he's hiding something. One evening, we walked through the park near my office. Spring was in full bloom. We sat on a bench, petals drifting through the air. He asked, "Your son didn't like me, did he?" I smiled. He was quiet, but I know he was just being protective. He's the one person who knows me better than anyone. Young-woo nodded, looking into the distance. His expression darkened. You know, when someone's lived a wrong life for a long time, it takes even longer to cover up the scars. My heart dropped. It was the first time he spoke of his past. But that was all he said. No details, no confessions. That night, after coming home, I opened my drawer. Inside was the photocopy of his ID. The one I made when we signed the lease. I picked it up, unfolded it, folded it again. I held my phone, ready to search his name. But I didn't, because I knew once I looked, I could never unsee it. Instead, I tried to remember his warmth. His careful hands, the way he always made my coffee just the way I liked. But in the back of my mind, a small crack had formed, and the word truth started to seep in. It was a perfectly ordinary day. The sun came through the windows, warm and soft. Young-woo had stopped by that morning with a coffee, like always. I made it extra sweet today, he said. Thought you might need a little lift. He was always kind, calm, and gentle. So I believed maybe this life was all there was to him now. But truth never shows up when you're ready. It barges in. Later that afternoon, a man walked into my office. He looked to be in his late 50s, wearing an old jacket and a hardened look in his eyes. He glanced around, then stepped closer. "That man next door," he said. "His name's Kong Young-woo, right?" I instinctively tensed. "Yes. Why?" He leaned in and spoke in a rough, low voice. "He used to be in our organization. Did time in prison. He got out 3 years ago." My heart stopped. "What did you say?" "I heard he was in this neighborhood. Thought he changed his name, but he's still using the same one. You should be careful. He was involved in fraud," he added. "Seemed clean on the outside, but trust me, he's not." The man walked out, and I stood frozen. Cold sweat ran down my back. I couldn't breathe. Something deep inside me collapsed. That evening, I asked Young-woo to come by. He smiled as he stepped inside. "Is something wrong?" "Your voice sounded heavy." I looked straight at him. "Is there something you haven't told me, Young-woo?" He paused. His breath caught in his throat. "What do you mean? You were in prison. Why didn't you tell me?" He dropped his gaze. I tried to hold back the storm rising in my chest. "I trusted you," I said. "I thought maybe I could finally believe in someone again. But you lied to me from the very beginning." He spoke slowly, painfully. "Am I young? I wanted to tell you. But I was scared. I thought that if I told you, you'd walk away. And the closer we got, the harder it became. You didn't even give me the chance to decide for myself," I said, voice shaking. He knelt down in front of me. "You don't have to forgive me. I need you to know. Being with you was the first time I felt like maybe I could be a better man." Tears welled up in my eyes. But I couldn't say anything. Not yet. That night, I sat by the open window. The breeze brushing past me. The city sounds unfamiliar and distant. I whispered his name to myself. And quietly asked the question I couldn't stop thinking. Why? Why didn't you tell me from the start? After the truth came out, I didn't see Young-woo again. He stood at my door more than once. But I didn't answer. He sent me messages. I didn't read them. He left coffee outside my office. Just like always. But I didn't drink it. I wasn't trying to hurt him. I didn't know how to face him anymore. I wasn't someone who was broken. I was someone who worked hard not to get broken. But somehow, that made it hurt even more. His laughter, his voice, his touch, they had already become part of my daily life. And now, every corner of my day was filled with the absence of him. Young-woo stayed quiet after that. He kept working in the cafe. But I noticed. He smiled less, moved slower. People started to whisper, "Why does the cafe guy look so down these days? Did something happen between them? Wasn't he hiding something?" Each word, each look, cut me more than I expected. Then, about a week later, his cafe didn't open. I figured maybe he was just taking a day off. But the next day, it was still closed. And the day after that. On the third day, I stood outside his cafe. There was a plain sheet of A4 paper taped to the inside of the glass. Temporarily closed. "Please do not contact." And just below that, in smaller handwriting, "Am I young? Thank you, I'm sorry. And most of all, I loved you. Young-woo." I sank to the ground right there on the sidewalk. My hands trembled. I could barely breathe. Was he really gone? Was this how it ends? I pressed my palm against the cafe window, leaning in, and whispered to no one but myself. "I don't want it to end like this. I'm still here. I'm still waiting for you." But there was no answer. Young-woo had vanished. And once again, I was alone. But it wasn't like before. The quiet was different now. He had left behind warmth. And feelings too heavy to ignore. And that's when I realized. What they say is true. Grief lasts longer than love. 10 days passed. Every morning, I walked by his cafe. Hoping, praying, that the lights would be on again. But the door stayed shut. Dust began to settle on the windows. Silence settled where music and coffee once lived. And then, one afternoon on my way home, I found a small brown envelope in the mailbox. It was labeled, "To M.I. Young Handbit Real Estate." My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. And a folded menu from the cafe. At the very bottom of that menu, a new item had been added. M.I. Young Latte Rich, Smooth, Unforgettable. And under it, in his handwriting, "If someone asks what it tastes like, tell them it's the flavor of one man's heart." The letter began, "At first, I was truly sorry. I didn't think I deserved to stand beside someone like you. I felt too stained, too broken. But as each day passed with you, I realized I could make someone's life warmer. I could still be good for someone. I never said it out loud. But every day, I thought of you. In the morning your smile when you opened the door. At lunch your tired eyes, still beautiful. At night your quiet laughter echoing in my mind. I loved you, and that's why I had to leave. I didn't want you to carry the weight of my past. But if one day, I become someone better, someone stronger, would you say my name again then?" Jung Woo. I held the letter to my chest. And let the tears fall silently. His name echoed in my heart. And all I could think was, I still remember your name. I still hold it close. That night, I went to his cafe and taped a note on the glass. "There's still someone waiting for you. Right here." The wind was sharp. But inside me, something warm began to stir again. And I knew, in the place where his name had once faded, I was ready to call it out again. I found myself listening, to the sound of footsteps. To the wind rattling the cafe sign. To anything that might mean he was back. Was it just wishful thinking? Or was my heart picking up signs before my eyes could? Every morning, I slowed down in front of his cafe. The window was still dark. But I imagined him standing there again, pouring coffee. Then one afternoon, as I was leaving a bookstore near the library, I ran into Jin Soo, his old part-timer. "Oh, Miss M.I. Young. Wondering how the boss is doing?" he asked casually. My heart skipped. "Do you know where he went?" I asked. He shrugged. He said he was taking a break. A month off, maybe. He came by a few days ago to clean up the cafe a little. Was he alone? No, he was with a man. Older. Seemed quiet, but kind of intense. Something about that made my chest ache. Was he slipping back into his old world? That evening, I didn't go straight home. I wandered to the park bench we once sat on, where the cherry blossoms had bloomed and fallen. Green leaves had started to replace the petals. And then, I heard the sound of shoes approaching. Familiar. Steady. Close. I didn't turn. It could be the wind. Or a memory. Maybe just another person walking by. But then, a voice I hadn't heard in days, yet never stopped hearing in my heart, spoke behind me. Still sitting in the same spot, I see. I turned slowly. And there he was. Jung Woo. Thinner, quieter. But the same warm eyes. He looked nervous, hopeful, like a man not expecting forgiveness, but still praying for it. He stepped closer. "I missed you," he said gently. And without thinking, I wrapped my arms around him. I didn't need explanations, or promises. I just knew, he was back, and my heart had been waiting all along. After he returned, we didn't rush into anything. No long talks. No questions or blame. We simply walked side by side, shared meals, and sat in silence that said more than words ever could. Love, I realized, doesn't always come with grand declarations. Sometimes, it's in the quiet presence. The small gestures, the hand that stays. One evening, we sat together in his cafe, still closed, still dark. Only a single warm light glowed from the wall. It felt like the world had shrunk down to just us. He broke the silence. "M.I. Young. I've thought about this every day. Whether I still have a place here. Whether I still deserve to stand next to you." I looked at him, really looked. "You don't decide that," I said. "I do." He seemed taken aback. And I continued, softly but surely. "When you left, I realized something. I wasn't waiting for you to return. I was waiting for myself. To be ready to choose you again. Tears filled his eyes. You're okay with all of it? My past? He whispered. I nodded. You're not my past. You're my present. And my future. He reached out and took my hand. Still warm. Still steady. But stronger than before. That night, we didn't say much. We just held each other. Wrapped in a silence that had finally become peace. I made a quiet promise in my heart. No longer just someone's mother. No longer someone's ex-wife. From now on, I will live as myself. And I want you beside me. A few days later, his cafe reopened. It was still small, still quiet, but now it was filled with something deeper. A warmth only we knew. Customers returned, and I came by every lunchtime, ordering my usual and sitting by the window. One day, my son came home on leave again. He sat next to me, looked out at the street, and said quietly, "Mom, you look happy." I smiled. I am. This time, I'm loving for me. In the corner of the cafe window, Jung Woo had written a message by hand. Late love is deeper for a reason. And every day, we sit side by side in front of that window, building a life not loud or flashy, but real and lasting. Our story isn't over. It's just finally begun.